introduce you to number 3 in the spring sampler flower blocks that I'm putting together. This one is called these daffodils. I'm just showing it to you a little bit differently because I use a lot of scraps. It takes me a couple hours just to figure out the fabric. You may end up doing the same thing. I just wanted to show you that an option I'll be showing you won't be a straight HST. I've got something else in mind, but I wanted you to keep in mind that you can do it by just having straight seams as an HST. So the fabric requirements will be in the video as normal. I'll go along and sew each piece and you can follow along or do it later. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below or send me a quick email. I'm always here to help. So let's get busy. Okay, so first up is going to be the corner blocks. We'll be making 4 of these. Very easy, 2.5, 2.5, and 4.5. So what we'll do first is we'll sew these together, right sides together. Once that's done, then we'll sew that here. We'll do that 4 times and then all the corners will be done. It has been designed to have high contrast in the corner design. Totally up to you. The colors I pick are my suggestion. You can do whatever you want. So let me get on with this and I'll be right back. Here's just showing you the corners are all sewn. Very easy. I did strip piece them, which means I went through the sewing machine and sewed all of these seams first, and then I pressed them to the dark side, and then I added this longer 4.5 inch piece. So those are all done. I did square them up a little bit, so I'll put those to the side. Next we're going to work on the center block, part of the block, and that is a 4.5 inch square. I'm using a very high contrast orange just based on how I want this to look. I am using all scrap, so I have to, be a little bit, it makes it a little bit more challenging to get the look that I want. So I've got 4.5 inch square. I've got 4 2.5 inch squares. These will act as our corner flips. So what I've done is I've drawn from corner to corner. I've put an X to the side where when I match this up like this and I sew it, the X is telling me this is the part that I'm going to be cutting off. So that's what it's going to look like once it's all trimmed down and pressed. I do this because I have flipped them the wrong way before and then I'm disappointed in how they turn out. It's also a reminder to me when I'm trying to sew here, I want to sew a little bit on this side of the seam, so it gives me a little bit more fabric to wrap over. And by doing this, it reminds me that, hey, that's the side that I need to be paying attention to. So what I'll do is I'll sew one, I'll check it, I'll trim it, I'll press it, then I'll go and do the other, do the same thing, the next, so all 4 corners will be done. You can also do these as a flying goose, so 2 flying geese, or you could also do them as half square triangles. I'm trying to do this flip method because I think it will look really good and it's easier for me to do. So let's go ahead and get this one done. So this first one I did get done. I did actually put a little dab of glue under here just to help it so that wouldn't move around because we are sewing on the bias. I did check it, so I will be cutting 1/4 inch away and then flip this over, and that's what it's going to look like. I'll press it and then I'll add the next one. Again, if you wanted this as a extra HST to go into your ready-made blocks, you could actually sew another line here, cut it apart, and then you'd have another HST. I explained that in the last video that I did, so you can refer to that if you want to understand what I'm talking about. On this one, I'm not going to because I don't know if I'll use these colors together again, and I've got some other things that are brewing in my brain that I want to use them for. So again, I'm going to trim this 1/4 inch from the seam, flip it over, press it, and then add the other 4. The second side has been added. See how it overlaps? So when I go to add the next one, it will do the same thing. It'll overlap on here. And then adding this one, it will overlap here and here. Okay, this very center portion of the block is now done. So some easier sewing again. I did square it up to 4.5 square. So now we're going to add 4.5 inch strips on both sides. So right sides together, sewing there and there. And then these are 2.5 by 8.5, which will be added on the bottom and on the top. And again, pressing these to the dark side if you can. You do want to pay attention a little bit when you're making, when you're sewing close to here, because you don't want to end up clipping this off, because then it would look like that. And you don't want it being like this. So normally what I do is I will put the longer piece on the bottom, and then when I'm stitching, I'm going to be trying to meet up where those 2 stitching lines intersect. That's where my needle's going to be. In some cases, I might even be going along, and then I'll have to veer slightly up or down to hit that, and then carry on. By doing this with this facing up, it just gives you a better opportunity for a good point. So I'm going to go ahead and get those sewn on, and then I'll be right back. I've got the 2 shorter ends printed on. I just want you to take a look. I'm pretty pleased with the points here. You have to remember when you're sewing, you've got the fabric that takes up space, and so does the thread. So when you flip this over, you can see here how it's hitting that line. And I actually veered up a little bit and then back to try and hit that one. And then this one, it was pretty easy just to intersect it. So by pressing it to the outside borders, it seemed to work the best. So now I'm going to do these 2 edges, and the center block part will be all done. Well, that wasn't too bad. I've got all the sides stitched on. We've got these corners done. They go like that. I don't know, you probably won't be able to see them in camera yet, so I'll just put them like that for now. So the white part is going to be facing out that way. And again, these are my suggestions for color. You can pick what you like. So next we need to do the points that are going to be going here, 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 here. 8 of them all together. This is a little bit of a different technique. You can convert it to doing it as HSTs if that is what you would like to do. I'm taking this as an opportunity to show you something that I learned about a year ago, and I think it's kind of neat. What you do is you take 2 squares, same size. These are 4.5. You do right sides together. And then the one that is eventually going to have a little bit of a bend in it, you want to take it over to the corner. You can press it if you want, or just gently finger press it. What you're going to do is take all of these and get them matched up. So the corner here, try to get this going as best you can there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just baste it, which means you're just going to stitch it from here to hold these sides in place. And then what we'll be doing is, once those are all done, you'll end up with a flap like this. And then what we'll do is we'll take where the approximate center is, and we'll fold it over about 1/4 inch. And then that with our fingers, we'll be able to give it kind of a curved look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do all 8 of these by lightly pressing these and again stitching them here and here. You don't want to do it at 1/4 of an inch because then you'll see it when you join all the blocks together. So what we want to do is do it 1/8 of an inch. So looking at a 1-inch ruler, normally we'd be stitching here. You want to do it skinny on the inside. If you want to, you can always draw a reference line so you know how much to stay within, because it's not very much. You're just trying to hold them in place until the whole thing comes together. So again, stitching there and there. It does look like you're wasting a lot of fabric, but it does really give a pretty effect when you do this. And again, if you don't want to do it this way, you can do it the traditional half square triangle where you're stitching corner to corner, flipping over, cutting off the extra below, and then you'd have it like that. So I'm just showing you a curved method, which I'm going to be doing when I do my block. So I'll do one up and then I'll be right back. Okay, I got all of the yellow sewn on with the skinny stitch on 2 sides. So this, it looks like a little pocket when they're all done. And so I did 8 of those like this. So let me explain this again, what we're gonna do. So now that we have this open bit here, we're going to fold this over about 1/4 of an inch. Doesn't have to be perfect. That would be about 1/4 of an inch. If you go from corner to corner here visually, that tells you where the center is. And then you're just going to work the fabric into the corner by pressing it down. This is when, if you have an iron, then you can press it gently to get your curve. And then what you can do is you can either get some coordinating thread or invisible thread, or you can hand stitch it to tack this down. You could just do it all the way down or do a whip stitch to do it all the way down, or you could just do it in the center and then it would give it more of a 3D look. I'm going to find some thread and then I'm going to do a very narrow stitch along here, and then it'll look like that when it's all done. So first of all, I will press these all, I will top stitch them, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. After this step, we will be doing the final assembly and then the block will be completed. Okay, I got all the curves done. See how close it is. I actually used the zipper foot on my machine to get it so close. I didn't have a yellow that really matched, so I decided to use an ivory thread, which I'm happy with. That worked for me. So next, these are all done. I'm not going to press these because I kind of like the softer look. They're going to end up getting pressed when we're putting it all together anyway. So this is how they are. They're not all perfect. They're not all the same because flowers in nature are all different. So that's my way of saying, do this loosely. Don't get yourself all uptight about perfection on this one. So the result will still be amazing. You'll be very happy with it. So next we're going to start the assembly. You can either work, we'll take the center, and you can either work from one side to another side like this. So do here, well, you actually have to join these together first and flip them, and then join here, do the other edge, come back, then you're going to add a corner with these like that, and then Let's move that in so that you can see it. So like that, and then you'd actually be adding another corner so that the lighter part is facing out. And then this would already be assembled, and then you do the same as this on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew these together in pairs, get them all done, and then I'll attach them to the sides, and then I'll make a strip for here, and then they'll be one big block. This block, I don't know if I told you, it measures 16 inches. This is part of a larger sampler that I'm doing. I think there's gonna be 2 more full-size blocks, and then there'll be some optional little ones for the blanket. So those are still to come. So just staying on track here. Let's get these together and then I'll be right back. Just showing you that I have this 4 units sewn together, same in the bottom. So next I will add these here and this side here, press those, and then add the top and bottom, and then it's all done. So I'll be right back. So here we are, the finished block. It's 16.5. Once it's sewn into something else, it'll be 16 inches. It is a big block. There are a lot of seams, but I really encourage you to try the rounded look on the HSTs to give it kind of a neat curve look. So give it a try. Shoot me a message. As always, sew with DeBee. And I really appreciate it if you like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day of sewing. Take care.